Imagine a doctor's office, a doctor, a husband holding his wife's head so it won't hit against the wall, a wife who is terrified, and that wife is me. I am an actor, but I wasn't acting then. I had actually been shooting a show and I got injured and I was in that doctor's office. Some of you may know me already, and for those of you who don't, I played Andrea Zuckerman on 90210. And it was the job of a lifetime. But you know what? I had to lie to get that role. And I hate that word lie, but it's true. I had to lie. And why did I have to lie? Because it was 1990. I was 29 years old. And I was auditioning for the role of a 16-year-old. There was no way they were going to hire me if they knew how old I was. Because I work in an ageist industry, and the fact is we all live in an ageist country. But I love telling that part of my career because that's the kind of gotcha moment I had. I felt like I beat the ageist industry, just in that ageist bias in our industry, in just that brief moment. And it was only for a moment because it was like, a year later, People magazine came to our set and they were interviewing one of the other actors, and they asked me for a quote. I gave the quote and they said, "Gabrielle, how old are you?" And I said, "Well, I don't play age, I play character." Good, right? A couple days later, the writer called me and he said, "Gabrielle, we've discovered your age and we're going to print it." And I said, "Please do not print my age. Please, if you print my age, I will lose my job." But of course he printed because it was 90210 and the headlines read, "90210 actor lies about her age." But I was lucky because the show was starting to be successful. My character was recognized. I did, though, have a producer who came up to me and said, "Gabrielle, you're really lucky because if we had known your age, you never would have gotten the job." Something else that you don't know about me is that I didn't like to rock the boat. I didn't like to rock the boat. I was on 90210 and wanted to stay under the radar. And I've always been a very outspoken person. I've always felt like a really powerful person. So how is it I ended up on a set in Canada getting ready to shoot a fight scene with a guy who was like a giant next to me? I even said something. I said something to the director and to the crew, and I said, "Hey guys, didn't you look at my resume? I'm only 5 foot 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch. And he's 6'5". I mean, that's a 17-inch differential." And everybody laughed. And then we went to shoot. I didn't say anything else because why? I didn't want to rock the boat. And so we started the scene. He put his arm around my neck. He lifted me by my head. He dragged me down the stairs. We did it again. He put his arm around my neck. He lifted me by my head, and he dragged me down the stairs. And we did that over and over and over again, 20, 25 times. And then they were resetting the lights and resetting the camera. The director said, "Let's just rehearse that one more time, Gabrielle." The guy went to put his arm around my neck, and I said, "Stop. Stop." But why didn't I say that earlier? I didn't want to rock the boat. I started losing feeling in my hands. My neck hurt. I had a headache. Things were going haywire. The fact is I was becoming partially paralyzed. I couldn't stay there anymore. I had to go home. And the director came up to me and she said, "Gabrielle, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that happened. I saw it happened. I should have stopped it, and I didn't." And the AD said to me, "Gabrielle, don't you worry about anything. You just go home, you take care of yourself, we'll be there for you." And I went home and I went to see the doctors, I went to get my treatments. It was in that doctor's office where my husband is holding my head so it won't hit the wall. So it was there that I got a phone call from the AD, and he said, "Gabrielle, boy, are you lucky that you have health insurance through your union?" I was like, "What? What are you talking about, lucky?" And it dawned on me. I realized they weren't going to take care of me. They weren't going to make sure that I got care. And I said to him, "Are you kidding me? You saw what happened. You said you were going to take care of me, and now you're just going to abandon me?" It was in that moment when I got upset that I went from inner activist to out of the closet activist. Oh yeah, man, I was gonna rock the boat, and I did. I went to the press, I went and showed everybody, I let the world see what I look like, because I was no longer gonna be that silent voice. And that is the time, actually, that I started working as a volunteer with my union. Now, as being an actor most of my entire life, I've always been with my union, but it's not like I volunteered, did the work with members. Another thing about me that was really hard is it's hard for me to say I need help. It's really hard for me to reach out. But I needed help then, and my union was the union that stood there with me. They wrote letters to Canada on my behalf. They made sure that I had the health care that I needed. They were there to help me as the individual and give me voice. That was really important. But as I started to volunteer and I started to work with the members, with all the different members, I started to see that we all share so many things. We share experiences of racism and sexism and age bias. We do, and we share the bias against people with different disabilities. Pay parity. I mean, I've had pay parity issues my entire career. And then I realized it wasn't that the union just helps the individual. The union is there also to help the collective, to give us all voice, to raise us up. I'm going to give you an example. A couple of months ago, I was invited by the janitors. They were doing an action. This is the night shift workers. These are the workers at night. During the day when you've left your offices at the end of the day, these are the women, primarily women, immigrant women, who go in at night and they go to clean those business offices. And when they go in there, it's usually just one woman and a supervisor. So the union, the janitors union, said to them, because we've lost sight in this country what unions are about. So often they're just being demonized, and you think it's only about more money and more money. It's not. It is about security and safety and about making sure that people have a voice. So it was the janitors union that they did a survey with their members, and in that survey they said, what can we do to better your quality, give you dignity in your workspace? And one of the things that came back was, please help stop the sexual assault that is taking place in the offices at night. These women were being assaulted, harassed, and raped. But how come nobody knew? Nobody knew because they didn't want to rock the boat. They were afraid that nobody would believe them, nobody would stand by them, but their union did. In fact, their union not only stood by them, they helped to pass a law to end rape in the night shift. That's right. Because that's what unions do. Unions raise us up, and that's what our union does. We work, as I said, we have so many issues that we share together. The ageist issue has been going on for decades, but for the last 9 years, we've had our union with its members fighting to stop the ageist bias that occurs in our industry. And we've been doing that with the internet, those website pages where you go to for hiring and casting, and you go see on the first page, the primary page, you see the birth dates of these people, and all we want is that birth date to be taken off. Because that birth date on there deprives us of the ability sometimes just to get in the room. So 6 months ago, the union asked me to go and speak to the Senate Judiciary Committee in Sacramento. I gotta tell you guys, I thought that's only what lawyers did. All right, but it is my story. So I went to Sacramento and I sat in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I said I was 29 years old playing the role of a 16-year-old. And if IMDb had existed at that time, I never would have gotten the chance to play Andrea Zuckerman. These sites create age discrimination, and we needed to stop. And they agreed. They did. So in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and this is Republicans and Democrats, they voted it up. It went to the Senate floor, and then it went to Governor Brown's desk. And then it was about a month ago, I was getting off a plane in São Paulo, Brazil. I had just gotten off. I got in the car. My phone turned on, and there was a phone number. I didn't recognize that phone number. I called the number. It was Governor Brown. On a Sunday, he'd been calling me. Really? Come on, guys. And he said he wanted to talk to me about the bill. So I went and I called back and I said, Governor Brown, this is Gabrielle Carteris. And he said, yeah, I only have a few moments, Gabrielle. I just want to ask you. He said, I have some concerns about this bill and the First Amendment rights. Click. The phone went off. Oh, my God. So he called back and I said, Governor Brown? He said, yes. I said, Governor Brown, look, I understand what you're saying about First Amendment rights, but you need to know that we have tailored this bill so narrowly that it will not affect the internet. This is not about us stopping any kind of internet activity. Look, celebrities, you already know their ages. This is for that person who just wants the opportunity to get in the room to be seen, not for their age, but for their ability. This is for the writers. This is for the directors. Any place where these hiring and casting sites, we just want it to be able to be something that we can have the ability not to have age discrimination. And he said, that sounds fair. I'll get back to you. So a week later, I was back at the airport going home. My luggage was going through the checkpoint, and my phone was beeping, beeping, beeping. I looked down, and it said that the bill had been passed into law. And in that moment, I was in the middle of the airport, and I was by myself, and I actually started to cry. And I cried, not because the bill passed. Oh, yes, because the bill passed. But also, I cried for all those performers, all those writers and directors who just want the chance to be able to get a job and take care of their families. So will this bill be challenged? Maybe. Will we fight it? Oh, absolutely. I am Gabrielle Carteris. I am 55 years old. And I am the president of the largest performers union in the world, and the one thing I have learned is we cannot do it alone.